Welcome to Virtual Sunday, a presentation of Whatsoever You Do Incorporated. I'm Norbertine Father Tim Shilcox, coming to you from the Abbey in De Pere with some reflections on the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time. When I was 4, my grandpa Shilcox died relatively suddenly after a short battle with cancer. And part of the change that necessitated in our family was that grandma couldn't stay out on the farm alone. So she moved into town in Appleton with one of her daughters and sons-in-law and family. And the question was what to do with the farm. The family was nowhere near emotionally ready to get rid of it, to sell it, see somebody else there. So they rented out the land. They kept the homestead part, the big old white farmhouse and yard, the peonies bushes and all the rest of it. And for 11 years, we kept up the house. Grandma stayed out there once in a while. We took turns staying with her in the summer, so she had a little more time out there. But otherwise, the place sat empty, but kept up, including during all of my grade school years, cutting grass every other week with my dad. I remember one time asking him the question, Dad, why are we cutting the grass when no one's living here? Wrong question to ask my dad. We went on to another topic right away, and I kept my mouth shut on that one. But there was another time where it got sort of tense between Dad and myself. He pointed to sort of a depressed area in the front yard and explained to me it was an old wooden cistern underground. And they grew grass on top of it, but the wood had been rotting and it was sort of caving in. And he told me when I cut the grass to stay my distance from it. He said it wasn't safe. He was concerned for my well-being. And then he said something that really both scared me and sort of made me sad. He looked at me and said, Tim, if you fell in there, I couldn't save you. I think to myself, you couldn't save me? You wouldn't save me? You wouldn't dive in after me and rescue me, Dad, at all costs? Sort of bent out of shape about that. Stupid little kid, I suppose. But I realized he was just acknowledging his limits on what he could do and couldn't do as a way of helping to keep me safe, as a way of loving me. It's hard brass tacks talk that Jesus gives in the gospel today. Unless we hate our parents, our family members, our beloved, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless we carry the cross with him. I've always struggled with that one. Jesus, you couldn't be asking us to hate our moms and dads, could you? The most beloved people in our circle, spouses, kids, parents, the rest. What's with that? And as time has gone on, I realize there's another way to understand it, not hatred in the way we usually throw that word around, but more Jesus invites us to hate the limitations that are a part of any human relationship and any human person. First, to acknowledge them. If we acknowledge them, we can resent them, we can hate them, and then we can begin to rely on him. That moment long ago out at the farm between Freedom and Kaukauna off Highway 55, I hated that there were limitations to what my dad could or would do to save me. He was acknowledging his limits. He was acknowledging that he wasn't God. Only God is God. And we have to live fully, to live in that truth. I think that's what Jesus is asking of us today. The cross that he asks us to carry is the reality of our human limitations. We don't know it all. We can't do it all. We don't have it all. We're really very limited and fragile creatures, as beautiful, as complex, as talented, and capable as we are. We're not God. And Jesus asks us to do what he did as the beloved Son, to walk humbly and to rely on the Father's power and providence to save us, not to be self-reliant, not to invest in any other person or anything or any accomplishment as if it could save us. We can't take it with us, any of it. But to put all our hopes on God and to trust that God will come through for us, that we will not be disappointed. This is the mystery of God that is inferred, I would suggest, by the first reading from the ancient book of wisdom. Only God is God. Only God's got it all figured out. Only God has the ability to, at the right time and the right moment, do the right thing, to take care of us, to keep us safe, to rescue us, to forgive us, to heal us, and to usher us, as he did his own beloved Son Jesus, through the moment and gate of human death. to glory. It's 2 years this week. It falls on a Wednesday. It was Labor Day 2 years ago in 2020. I was sitting by my dad's bed in the Rennes Nursing Home in Appleton. 2 months short of his 100th birthday, he had something happen in the night, and it was his dying time. I could anoint him. I could absolve him. I could help him for the last time in his 100-year life receive Holy Communion. But the tables were turned, and I couldn't save him. I couldn't make it possible for him to live any longer. He was ready to go to be with God, to be with my mom. Would have liked a 100th birthday party, I suppose, but he had it on the other side. And so all I could do was sit by his bed to wait for his time to come, to thank God for him, to tell him I loved him, to have those personal exchanges between father and son that were a bit late in coming in our relationship, but hopefully not too late that he could hear me even though he wasn't able to respond, to hold his hand, but also to let him go. Maybe to hate that he couldn't live forever, but 100 years, like he told me, I can't stay around forever. To put him in God's hands and to trust that God will lovingly take care of him. It's a cross in a sense, a cross of humility, a cross of brutal honesty, to say, I don't know, I'm not able, I haven't got it figured out, I don't have the ability or the strength or the power or the wisdom to navigate this situation or that situation, especially human life and death. It's a cross we're asked to bear with Jesus, a kind of dying to our pride, to our self-sufficiency, to our independence and rugged individualism, so that we can reach out to God. And as Jesus did, call out in absolute trust, Father, I put my life, we put our loved ones, we put our past and present and future, our virtues and our sins, our hopes and our dreams, our church and our communities, and our whole world. We put it all in your hands and trust that in your hands all will be well. All will be well.